The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied divine and multicolored forms."
Verse 6. Pashyaditam vasun rudran ashvinu marutustatha bahune adrasta purvani pasyacharyani bharata.
O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vashus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before.
Ihakastam jagat krishnam pashyadya sacharacharam mama deha gudakesha yachanya drishtim ichhasi.
O Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything, moving and non-moving, is here completely in one place.
Natu mam sakya she drishtam aninevya swachakshusha divyam dadami te chakshu pasyame yogam eshwaram.
But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore I give you divine eyes. Behold my mystic opulence.
Verse 9. Sanjaya uvacha evam yuktva tato rajan mahayogeshwaro harihi darashayam asaparthaya paramam rupam eshwaram.
Sanjay said, O king, having spoken thus, the Supreme Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna.
Verse 10 and 11. Aneka vaktra nayanam, anekabda buddha darshanam, aneka divya bharanam, divya anekodya yatayudam, divya malyambaradharam, divya gandhalulepanam, sarvascharya mayam devam, anantam vishvato mukham.
Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, unlimited wonderful visions. The form was decorated with many celestial ornaments and bore many divine upraised weapons. He wore celestial garlands and garments, and many divine scents were smeared all over his body. All was wondrous, brilliant, unlimited, all expanding.
Verse 12. Divi Surya Saharsrasya Bhaved Yoga Pad Utita Yadi Baha Sadrashi Cha Sahad Bhashastasya Mahatmanaha.
If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form.
Verse 13. Tatreka jagat krishnam pravibhaktam anekada appasya deva devasya sharire pandavastada.
At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe, situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands.
Verse 14. Tathasa vishmayo vishto rishto roma dhananjaya pranamaya shirsha devam kranta jalir abhasata.
Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord.
Verse 15. Arjuna vacha pashyami devam stava dehe sarvam statha bhuta vishesha sanghan brahmanam isham kamala shanastam Rishimscha sarvan uragam cha divyan.
Arjun said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on a lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and all the sages and divine serpents."
Aneka bahudara vaktra netram pashyami tvam sarvato nantarupam nantam na madhyam na punastavadim pashyami vishveshwara vishwarupa.
O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere, without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning.
Verse 17. Kirtinam gadinam chakrinam cha tejorasim sarvato diptimantam pashyami tvam durnikrikasham samantad diptang nalarkadyutim apramayam.
Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, spreading on all sides, like blazing fire or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs.
Tvam aksharam paramam veditavyam Tvam asya vishvasya param nidhanam Tvam avyaya sasvata dharma gopta Sanatanastvam purusho matami.
You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion.
Anadimadyantam anantaviryam Anantabahum sashi surya netram Pashyami tvam dipta hutasha vaktaram Swate ashvam idam tapantam.
You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and the moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance.
Verse 20. Dyavaye parthivar idam antaram hi vyaptam tva ekinadishascha sarva drishtva bhutam rupam ugram tavedam lokatrayam prayatatitam mahatman.
Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O Great One, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed.
Verse 21. Amihi tvam surasanga vishanti kechid bita prana jalo grananti swastite yuktva maharshi siddha sangaha stuvanti tvam stutibhi pushkalabhihi.
All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings crying all peace are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns.
22. Rudradityo Vashavaye cha sadhya Vishvashvivanu Marutas Koshmapascha Gandharva Yaksha Shura Siddha Sangha Vikshanti Tvam Vishmitas Chevya Sarve.
all the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vashus, the Sadyas, the Vishvedevas, the two Ashvis, the Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder.
Verse 23. Rupam mahate bahuvaktra netram mahabaho bahurupadam bahudaram bahudamastra karalam drishtva loka pravyatitas tathaham.
O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form, with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I.
Verse 24. Nabaha sprisham diptam aneka varnam vyatananam dipta vishala netram drishtva hi tvam paryayati tantaratma dhritim na vindami samam cha Vishnu.
O all-pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind.
Verse 25. Damastra karalani chate mukhani drishtavaiva kalanala sani bhani disho na jane na labhe cha sarma prasida devesha jagannivasha.
O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered.
Verse 26 and 27. Amicha tvam drishtrastasya putra sarve sahivavani palasangaha bhishmo drona shuta putrastathasu sashamadiyar apiyodamukyaya vaktrani te tvarmana vishanti Damashtra karalani bhayanan kani kechid vilagna dashanantareshu sandrishyanti churnitar uttamagnigaha.
All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers also, are rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth.
Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Kusha Mataji and Gita Mataji, for that wonderful reading of the Sanskrit in English. Very, we can read it again and again, and it still is so attractive. The words of the Lord and the Bhagavad Gita. So now I shall, let me see, there's a chat. Oh, thank you. I'll share my screen. Okay, mute everyone. And we're ready to go. So I'll say the Mangala Charanam prayers for invoking auspiciousness before we try to dive into this verse a bit more deep. Verse number 3 today. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Malitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Picharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatarine. So welcome to everyone to today's chat session, Bhagavad Gita, a chapter a day. Although we haven't read the full chapter, we went up to text 27. When any chapter is particularly lengthy, as is chapter 11, which has 50 verses, we break up the chapter into two parts, and we read the 55 verses. So we read half the chapter from one Ekadasi to the next Ekadasi, and we discuss those. And then from the next Ekadasi, following Ekadasi to the approach of the next Ekadasi, we'll read the remaining chapters. So now we are reciting up till text number 27. And for those who do not know me, my name is Vrindavan Chandra. I'm one of the facilitators of this chat program. So from myself, a warm welcome to all of you, and especially to those who are joining us for the first time. So today we will cover text number 3 in more detail. Evam etad yata atta tvam atmanam parameshvara drashtumichami te rupam aishvaryam purushottama. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So purport, let me see if I can ask someone to read today. Jai Shri Mystery Mataji, can I ask you to read the purport today? Are you happy to do that?
Sorry, Prabhu, I forgot to unmute. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please go ahead, Jai Shri.
The Lord said that because he entered into the material universe by his personal representation, the cosmic manifestation has been made possible and is going on. Now, as far as Arjuna is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna. But in order to convince others in the future who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, Arjuna desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting from within the universe, although he is apart from it. Arjuna's addressing the Lord as Purushottama is also significant. Since the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is present within Arjuna himself. Therefore, he knows the desire of Arjuna, and he can understand that Arjuna has no special desire to see him in his universal form, for Arjuna is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form as Krishna. But the Lord can understand also that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to convince others. Arjuna did not have any personal desire for confirmation. Krishna also understands that Arjuna wants to see the universal form to set a criterion, for in the future there would be so many impostors who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people, therefore, should be careful. One who claims to be Krishna should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claim to the people.
Thank you. What a beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. expanding on this verse. Now, immediately relative to the previous verse that we read, we see some change in Arjuna's mood. In the previous verse, he addressed Krishna as Kamala Pratyaksha, meaning, O lotus-eyed one, which is a very intimate description of the Lord. And here in this verse is using two different words to address the Lord, Parameshvara and Purushottama. So Param means the biggest or the greatest, and Ishvara means the supreme controller. So Krishna is Ishvara means controller. So Parameshvara means the supreme controller. And Purushottama. Purusha means the supreme enjoyer or the supreme male. And Uttama means the highest. So Krishna is the highest of all Purushas, enjoyers. So here we're seeing a different mood manifesting in Arjuna now relative to the previous verse. And there are many very interesting points in this verse, which we shall try to describe. Now, yesterday, we spoke about this, but we'll just do a refresh because Prabhupada covers it in the purport again. There are many reasons, and there's primarily three reasons that for the Lord revealing his universal form to Arjuna. And that's revealed in the verse and the purport. And there are three in particular, as we said. The first is to convince others. The second is to set the criteria. And the third is to satisfy Arjuna's curiosity. Previously, Krishna said he's both an individual, but at the same time, he pervades the entire universe, or he enters into the universe. And Prabhupada writes, Arjuna's desire to see him actually in his universal form is to see how he's acting within the universe, although he is apart from it. So we can just picture Arjuna's position here. He's standing in the battlefield. Krishna, in his two-armed form, is standing in front of Arjuna. And Krishna, as revealed in the previous chapters, is opulences. And part of the opulences that Krishna has revealed is how he is pervading the entire universe. And we know that this is a very mysterious phenomenon to grasp. Just like I am now sitting in front of you all in this room. Right? It's beyond imagination how I can be sitting in this room and at the same time be sitting next to each of y'all where y'all are sitting. We have no experience of such energy or such persons. Not only sitting next to you, but if I could have an energy that pervades everything, and everything is a manifestation of that energy, it's a bit difficult to grasp. So Arjuna can only relate to Krishna as standing in front of him, as he's seeing Krishna as a person. So he has some curiosity. How is it, Krishna, that you are also manifested in this way? You've entered the entire universe, or the universe is a manifestation of your energy. This is Arjuna's curiosity. And Prabhupada explains that this curiosity, or these questions that Arjuna is raising in these verses 1 to 8, this is to benefit others. Prabhupada says to convince others and to set the criterion. Arjuna doesn't need to be convinced of Krishna's position. as we read yesterday, he thoroughly understood Krishna's position. He had Vigyan. And for himself, there was no need to set any criteria. He was convinced beyond doubt. But he was raising these questions for our benefit, for the benefit of those people who hear about Krishna and they doubt Krishna's supreme position. And in this way, Arjuna is benefiting all of us. And this is the nature of a great soul. This is the nature of the devotee. I have some personal experience in my own life of this. Every year, I try to go and spend some time with my spiritual master and render some personal service to him. And often when I'm serving him, many other sannyasis will come. And sometimes I drive them, and both sannyasis will be sitting, and sometimes they'll be taking lunch together and I'll be serving them. And often I noticed that my Guru Maharaj would ask the other sannyasis some question which has particular relevance for my life and my understanding. And at one time I remember my Guru Maharaj, I was serving him and Devamrita Swami. And my Guru Maharaj was asking Devamrita Swami some questions, and Devamrita Swami was answering. And I was convinced that my Guru Maharaj never needed to ask those questions. But he was asking it so I could also hear. And after lunch was finished and my Guru Maharaj was leaving the table, he went past me and he paused and he said, "Vrindavan Chandra, were you listening? Did you hear?" And I said, "Yes, Guru Maharaj, I heard." So this is the nature of the great spiritual personalities. They are always thinking about the good and welfare for others. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, just before Shukadev Goswami could start speaking and instructing Parikshit Maharaj, he praised Parikshit Maharaj for his question. And what was Parikshit Maharaj's question? He asked Shukadev Goswami, what is the duty of one who is about to die? What should he hear about? What should he think about? Who should he remember? Who should he speak about? And who should he worship? And this actually is the most relevant of all questions, because all of us are going to die. Some of us know it, some of us don't. But at least in the current times, most of us have a sense that is probably nearer to us than it's ever been before because of this coronavirus, which can infect anybody at any time. And we have no certainty. Some people are just asymptomatic, nothing happens to them. But some people go through a horrendous time, and 44,000 people in the United Kingdom already died. So this question is very relevant. And when Parikshit Maharaj asked this question, his spiritual master Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, Variyan esha te prashna, kritoloka itam nipa, atmavit samata pumsa, shrotavyadhishu yaparaha." Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial for all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists." So when these pure devotees like Arjuna asked these questions, the answer to their questions is very important subject matter, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. Prabhupada writes that there are different types of realization of the Lord. There's a realization of the Lord as a person. And realization of him as a person is one is a two-armed form as Krishna Shyamasundar, or as he stood before Arjuna. And the other aspect is to understand his universal form, his Virat Rupa, which is also, as Prabhupada says in the purport, the first line, a personal representation. This Virat Rupa is a personal representation of the Lord. And then there is the impersonal. And Prabhupada says very clearly, higher than the impersonal realization is realization of the Virat Rupa, and higher than realization of the Virat Rupa, the universal form, is the realization of the personal aspect. Well, the two-armed personal aspect or the four-armed personal aspect of the Lord. So Arjuna is benefiting all of us. And as we've read, he entered into the material universe by his personal representation. So this Virat Rupa, this universal form of the Lord, it is a personal representation of the Lord. Prabhupada says in one purport, just like we are the soul and we have a body, the Lord is completely spiritual. But when he enters into the material universe, his body is to be considered to be the Virat Rupa. So that we can understand. Then Prabhupada explains something very nice. He writes, he says, Arjuna has no special desire to see the Lord in his universal form. Prabhupada writes, Arjuna is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form of Krishna. So this is the nature of the devotee. The devotee is most interested or is only completely satisfied when he sees the Lord's personal form as Krishna. And why is this so? Prabhupada writes very nicely in one purport. He says, a devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable him to reciprocate loving feelings. So why doesn't the devotee have a special desire to see the Lord in his universal form? Because this form does not really enable one to reciprocate with loving feelings. Because by nature, such a form of the Lord invokes wonder, amazement, fear, reverence, and such feelings actually impede the reciprocation of loving feelings. So this is why Arjuna, we will see it manifest very nicely in this chapter. And as we read the verses today, I'm sure many of you have picked up this sentiment by Arjuna. But for our benefit, Arjuna is asking, and Krishna is reciprocating. And in the Vedic scriptures, in the Srimad Bhagavatam in particular, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are other examples of the situation. One example that we all know is when Krishna revealed his universal form to Mother Yashoda. We know the pastime that once Krishna was playing with his friends and his brother Balaram. And at some point in time, there was some disagreement. And Balaram and the other boys, they snitched on Krishna. They went to Mother Yashoda and they told Mother Yashoda, Krishna has been eating dirt. So Mother Yashoda went to Krishna and she told Krishna, Krishna, I have heard you are eating dirt. And we know when a child eats dirt, it's very unhealthy. The child can become very sick. So Krishna, Mother Yashoda told Krishna, please open your mouth, Krishna. I want to see if you've eaten dirt. And when Krishna opened his mouth, what did she see? She saw the complete opulence of the creation. And it said there, she saw the entire outer space in all directions, mountains, islands, oceans, seas, planets, air, fire, moon and stars. Along with the moons and stars, she saw all the elements, water, sky, and the extensive ethereal existence, along with the total ego and its products, namely the senses, the controller of the senses, the demigods. She saw all living entities. She saw eternal time, material nature, spiritual nature, activity, consciousness. And she saw the entire cosmic manifestation. And upon seeing this, she became struck with awe, and she began to wonder whether she was dreaming or she was actually seeing something extraordinary. She concluded that she was either dreaming or seeing the play of the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She thought that she had become mad, mentally deranged, to see all of these wonderful things. Then she thought, it may be cosmic mystic power attained by my child, and therefore I am perplexed by such visions within his mouth. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here is a child, Krishna, and all she can think of is Krishna is a young child who is completely dependent on her, who cannot exist if she did not take care of him, who was completely dependent on her love. And suddenly her mood changed, and she said that I should offer my respectful obeisances. And I am thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband and Krishna is my son, and that all the properties of Nanda Maharaj belong to me, and that all the cowherd men and women are my subjects. And in this way, Mother Yashoda's loving mood became interrupted. And while Mother Yashoda was thinking in this philosophical way, Krishna again expanded his internal energy just to bewilder with maternal affection. So Krishna doesn't like this. There are so many living entities that are in awe and reverence of Krishna. And Krishna sometimes feels, I want something sweeter. I want the love of motherly affection. I want the love of pure friendship. I want the love, pure unalloyed love of the beloved gopis. And what Krishna does is, he expands his internal energy and he bewilders his devotees so that the devotees forget that he's God. Immediately, Mother Yashoda forgot all philosophical speculation and accepted Krishna as her own child. She took him on his lap and became overwhelmed with maternal affection. Krishna feels 1,000,000 times more happiness when Mother Yashoda picks him up and puts him on her lap than he feels when Mother Yashoda becomes in awe of his opulences. This is the sweetness aspect of the Lord. The same way with the gopis. Once Krishna was dancing with the gopis and then he disappeared. And the gopis were looking all over for him. And then they thought they saw him hiding behind a bush. And they went to see. And there they saw Krishna in his four-armed form. And immediately they saw Krishna in that form. They offered their pranams and they offered prayers to him in his Vishnu form. And he says, have you seen Krishna, dear Narayan? And this is the mood of the very confidential devotees of the Lord. This is the sweet aspect of the Lord. And yes, just one last item in terms of revealing the form of the Lord, this universal form. One day Advaita Acharya, an intimate devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Actually, Advaita Acharya is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. He wanted to see the universal form of Lord Chaitanya, the universal form that the Lord had shown to Arjuna. And Lord Chaitanya agreed to show him this magnificent form. And in this form, Advaita Acharya saw the body of the Lord, everything in existence, the sun, the moon, the planets, the ocean, the rivers, the gods. And it is said that even if hundreds and thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Lord. So Advaita Acharya requested Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, so no one can ever have any doubt. They'll be convinced that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he came in the form of a devotee, he is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yes, we are 31 minutes past 8, so we are almost on time. We'll take some comments and reflections before I make one announcement. Anyone's got any comments, questions, or reflections?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
This is my first class. It's very interesting. I just have a question on what you said that people who worship the Virat Rupa are better or higher than the worship of the living entities who want to merge into Brahman.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking that although the entities who are worshipping the Virat Rupa, they don't actually see the universal form as Arjuna or Advaita Acharya saw it. As far as I know, they are worshipping nature as the form of the Lord, like the trees as
Correct.
Yeah. And the people who want to enter into Brahman, which is like the first stage of the realization of the absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, that's actually spiritual energy. So I'm confused as to how the Virat Rupa is a higher worship than entering into Brahman, which is the spiritual energy, because the Virat Rupa is worshipped as material energy, as far as I know, in a way.
Wonderful question, Lavangalatika Mata. Very nice question. I was just doing some research earlier today, just to see, and that statement by Prabhupada is consistent, that the devotees who worship the Virat Rupa, they are higher than those who worship the impersonal aspect of the Lord. Although you said they are apparently closer to the Brahman stage than those who see the rivers as the veins of the Lord, as the trees as the ears of the body of the Lord, and so on. But that's probably best explained by the statement I read from Srila Prabhupada early on. It is closer to the personal aspect of the Lord. And the closer one is to a personal aspect of the Lord, the greater scope there is for reciprocation of feelings. And that seems to be the gist of why Srila Prabhupada makes those statements. That those who are worshipping the Virat Rupa, although it's seeing the Lord in nature or in his cosmic manifestation, they seem to have a greater level of intimacy with the Lord than those who are attached to the impersonal aspect. So in one sense, their transition to the two-armed form of Krishna is easier and quicker than the transition from those who are coming from an impersonal aspect to the two-armed personal aspect of the Lord. That seems to be the general purport of Srila Prabhupada's statements in this regard.
Thank you, Ru. Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, because people who are seeking to enter into Brahman, they aren't able to connect with the Lord as easily, I guess, even though it is a spiritual energy.
True.
Rather than material. But yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you for your nice question. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuta Mataji.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to I don't know, I think maybe not a really question, but it's like I just wanted to know something. You know, when Krishna showed this Virat Swarup,
Yeah.
I mean, all the soldiers and everything, everybody in the battlefield, I mean, obviously Arjuna needed that Divya Chakshu to see that Virat Swarup.
Yes.
So everybody, are surrounded. They probably not realizing what's happening at that time.
Yes.
But Sanjay got, this Chakshu from Krishna.
Yes.
So did Sanjay saw that Virat Swarup from distance?
Yes.
Okay.
He did.
So,
He did.
and then he described that to Dhritarashtra, that what he is seeing.
True.
Yeah. Okay. So that then like ordinary people, like whoever there in the Kurukshetra at that time. So it's only Arjuna, Sanjay, and Dhritarashtra know what's happening, not anybody else.
True.
So okay, Prabhu. So did Dhritarashtra question any of it, or he just accepted it?
I have not seen an explanation of Dhritarashtra's reaction.
Okay, Prabhu.
So I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Any comments, reflections? It doesn't even have to be a question. It must be your own realization of what was discussed today or stated in the verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
I just,
Krishna.
even Krishna, he himself don't know that he's in Yog Maya. So he himself was acting as a Yog Maya when he was small. Yeah. So he himself was not showing
That's
that he's
true.
Okay. Yeah.
That's true. Like sometimes, when we see a picture of Krishna, he's running in fear. And Mother Yashoda is chasing him with a stick. Sometimes we wonder, is Krishna actually in fear? Or is he pretending to be in fear?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he's not pretending. He's actually in fear because he's covered over by his own yoga maya. And that's Krishna's will. He's actually feeling fear. And, when he's crying, he's actually experiencing all those feelings. And those are sweet, transcendental feelings that he's experiencing. And it gives him lots of pleasure.
And also Yashoda Maya as well never feel that he always think she always think that Krishna is his son and not
Yes, she thinks if he doesn't feed Krishna, he will die. She thinks
so
if I don't feed Krishna, Krishna will die. So she's in anxiety to feed him. If she doesn't take care of him, Krishna will be finished. She thinks like that. So she gets covered over by the yoga maya.
So if covered by Mahamaya, then it's a different material.
Yeah. Mahamaya cannot touch the devotees.
Okay.
Mahamaya only functions in the material world. Yoga Maya functions only in the spiritual world. They are completely different. Completely different.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I got one question. Could you explain me what's the personal and impersonal? I can't really understand. Sorry, it's a bit.
Okay. Generally, the impersonal aspect, Krishna, he has an effulgence called the Brahma Jyoti.
Okay.
And this Brahma Jyoti is spiritual. There is Sat, there is Chit, and there's Ananda.
Okay.
So some living entities who desire to merge into this impersonal aspect of the Lord, they merge into the Brahma Jyoti, and there they experience some Sat, Chit, and Ananda. But Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says it's like a drop compared to the Ananda from the loving reciprocation with Krishna. But they do not, it's just like, if you drop salt or sugar in water, it dissolves.
Yeah, that's.
So, but the soul is an individual. As Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of the soldiers on the battlefield. Krishna says that. So we are constantly individual. And when the soul merges into impersonal Brahman, Prabhupada says eventually the soul falls down. And then one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, if there's bliss, there's Satchit and Ananda, why will the soul fall from the impersonal Brahman? And Prabhupada gave a very simple answer. He said, because they get lonely. The nature of the soul is to have desires. The nature of the soul is to have relationships. And when the soul merges into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, that is not there. That is not there.
Okay.
Therefore,
Lovely.
it's not fully satisfying for the soul. Yeah, that's the impersonal Brahman.
Impersonal. Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
I believe there was a statement to say Krishna entered into or merged into Arjuna. Isn't that the same as everyone?
Where did you read that statement, Mataji?
I thought there was a mention of, when you were reading, there was Krishna entered into Arjuna.
Oh, no, I think what you're saying is this. Maybe I'll clarify. In the purport, it says here, Purushottam. It says here, but let me just move this down. It says, Arjuna is addressing the Lord as Purushottam is significant. Since the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is present within Arjuna himself. What that means is, just like Krishna is present within all of us as the Paramatma, as the Super Soul.
Right.
And he knows what we are desiring, what we are thinking. So this statement Prabhupada is saying, he is present within Arjuna himself. Therefore, he knows the desire of Arjuna, and he can understand that Arjuna has no special desire to see him in his universal form. For Arjuna is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form. So Krishna, as Paramatma, is sitting next to us all the time. He knows exactly what we are thinking. He knows exactly what we are desiring as Paramatma. So this is what Prabhupada is referring to here in that statement.
All right, okay.
It's not that he merged into Arjuna. As Super Soul, he's sitting next to the Atma Arjuna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Emma Mataji.
So just something from yesterday's verse, where Kamala Patra, and then Prabhupada in the purport talks about aloof from them. It says appearance and disappearance, but he is aloof from them.
Yes.
So I thought there was a correlation between the Kamala, means the lotus petals, being aloof from the environment, and obviously Krishna being aloof from. Does that make sense? But no,
I know what you're trying to suggest. You are looking at it from a metaphorical point of view.
Yeah, but also again, Prabhupada mentions today in his purport that he is apart from it. So why does he keep repeating that? I'm a bit uncertain about that.
The main reason Prabhupada does that, and we've studied that in the previous chapters also, that people think that because Krishna says this material energy is a manifestation of him, they think that Krishna, when he manifests any aspect with the material energy, then Krishna can get contaminated. Because contact with the material energy means what? Contact with the three modes of material nature. Contact with the false ego. Yeah? So some people may think that Krishna, by that dint, becomes contaminated. And the example Prabhupada gives to explain this is the sun. The sun is situated in the sun globe with the sun god. And then the sun expands itself through the sun rays and the sunshine.
Yes.
And the sunshine, although sun may touch stool, Although sun may touch stool, sun never gets contaminated. But the sun will purify that place.
Yes.
So just for the people who may think, who may misunderstand when Krishna talks about his interaction with the material world and his manifestation of the material world, they may think that Krishna's contact with the material world, just like if you contact something dirty, you become dirty.
Yes.
So in the same way, if one contacts the material world, one gets some contamination. That's what Krishna says. It's part of him, but still he's aloof. He's trying to explain to the people that he does not get contaminated. That's the main reason he makes that point.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. That's useful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I was actually reading chapter 4.5 today of Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna Bhagavan said that Arjuna was always there and I was always there. But he was trying to explain him, and he, in that purport, it was written that wherever the God goes, all his dear devotees also come back again.
Yes.
So if Arjuna was liberated, then how come he came back and he got contaminated again and he forgot everything? But once after getting liberated, then how he's coming back again?
That's such a good question, Karan Prabhu. And Prabhupada explains it very clear in the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada explains that Arjuna's covering is not the way that we get covered. They are Nitya Siddha devotees, eternally liberated. But Krishna, to perform Leela, to speak the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna covers Arjuna with his own energy, not with the material energy. So when Arjuna starts to think, this is my family, when Arjuna starts to show bewilderment, even Prabhupada explains it in the Bhagavatam too, when the Yadus, when they started to kill each other and fight among themselves, when they wanted to wind up the pastimes. It seems like ordinary people fighting and killing each other. Prabhupada said this was all the arrangement of Krishna to wind up the pastimes of him and his devotees. We should not consider them to be ordinary, like how ordinary people fight or get bewildered. That's a different nature. Arjuna's becoming bewildered in the Gita is of a different nature than we becoming bewildered. He is directly under the energy of the Lord, the personal energy of the Lord. But we are under the energy of covering of Mahamaya. Arjuna is not covered by Mahamaya.
He was covered by Yoga.
Yes.
Okay, and because in that that's what Krishna Bhagavan said, that when he gave this knowledge to sun god, Arjuna was also present there, and now he's giving that knowledge again back to him.
Yeah. He tells Arjuna, many lives both you and I have passed, Krishna meaning incarnations.
Yeah.
But I can remember all of them, but you can't.
Yeah.
That's just because of Krishna's arrangement.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So I'll just go one more announcement to make before we close. This Saturday and Sunday is going to be a wonderful event coming up. We are going to do a Bhagavad Gita program. And we have a very illustrious speaker, is Grace Radhika Raman Prabhu, who's going to speak about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And any of you who have heard Radhika Raman Prabhu speak, it's just completely amazing. So this will take place on Saturday, the 22nd, and Sunday, the 23rd, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. I will put on our group chat the link for you to register your place on this Bhagavad Gita. It's an online event, not face-to-face in some hall. And we would request all of you all to please help us promote this event by trying to invite at least 2 of your friends or families or acquaintances to join us on this Bhagavad Gita. Radhika Raman Prabhu, this year he decided he's not doing any speaking arrangements. He's absorbed in writing a book. But because we requested him via Vaisheshika Prabhu, and this is to expand the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam, he said he'll make an exception and he'll speak for our event. So we're very fortunate, and we would like to get as many people as possible taking advantage of his presence. I will share with you all this brochure and the links for registration. Please share with this with your friends and family. So thank you very much, devotees, for your wonderful participation, your wonderful questions, and we'll see you all again tomorrow with Mukunda Hari Prabhu. Thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai
Hare
Shri
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
And everybody.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna,
Thank you so
Hare
much for the
Krishna,
wonderful
Prabhuji.
plan.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna. I see someone has written some questions here in the chat. I will reply to you all in the chat forum. Sorry, I couldn't cover that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Vrindavan